Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. This is Michael, KE4EST. Okay, as you can see right here, we got on the bench today a Hallicrafters SX-140. This is a receiver that came out in the early 50s, real popular throughout the 50s. Was considered a entry-level receiver. They had a matching HT40 transmitter, and a lot of guys, this is what their first rig was back then, and they get their novice ticket and whatever. You know, for the time it was considered entry level. But as you can see, if you look at it here, I'm in just a little bit more on the face of it here. You can see it's just band specific, just for, you know, amateur radio. You got 80 meters, 40 meters, 20 meters, 15 meters, 10 meters, and 6 meters. This is one I picked up off eBay a few years ago, and I had the HT40 transmitter matched for it, and did some trading around a few years ago. I had it. I had the HT40. I got it like 93 or something like that. Made lots of CB contacts on it. Didn't have the matching receiver, and I was rock bound on 3710. I'll never forget that, because it has a place in the front of the HT40 transmitters. It's got a place that says, you know, plug in for crystal or VFO, and it's got a little switch. And I didn't have a VFO for it. All I had was a crystal, and it was 3710, which was at the time in the novice band. So I did a lot of working on 3710. That's where I was at. I either had to listen for somebody call CQ, or if somebody was on 3710, I had to wait. And then if it was clear, you know, I'd call CQ. I did a lot of, I'd make 5, 6, 7, 8 contacts at night, or, you know, in the evening after work. But anyway, so I wanted to get this. So eventually I found one of these. But with life and kids and all that stuff, it got shelved, and I've pulled it out, and it was pretty much this shape when I got it. I mean, I didn't, you can see the dust on it, and I left all the dust and everything until I restored it and cleaned it up. And but if you can see, like down in here, the rust, this was there like that when I got it, and the top of it here, you can see how, I mean, there's dust on it, or it's been sitting on my shelf, but all this rust, and looks like somebody's had a candle or something sitting on it with wax, whatever, some paint splotches. That was there when I got it, because this has been in a controlled environment on a shelf in there. Didn't have a bag or anything on it to keep the dust off, but it was away from, I didn't put the paint or anything like that on it, so, but you can see rust even here, you know. But the face looks good, and I thought this was glass at first, but that's just plastic, I think. Yeah. This is good. Everything looks good. It'll clean up good. That's kind of hard to see through, but yeah, see, that's cleaning off there. There's a little bit of a chip there behind the S meter, and it's hard to see too. This corner here and this corner, this one's pressed in a little bit, like it's warped in, and that's the way it came to. I don't know what happened in its life to cause that. But so we got, you know, your S meter here. I call it carrier level, and it's, may not can see that, but let's just come in on this side over here. It's graduating S units 1, 3, 6, 9, and then we got, it says dB over S9 30 60 90. We got an antenna trim. Now what the antenna trim is, it's just it's on the sitting on the front end of the receiver, and it just kind of, it matches the antenna, kind of like a, you know, a tuner would do. It just kind of brings it in a little bit. You can, you tune in your signal, and you can grab this and tune this a little bit just to get the loudest, you know, the best signal. And this cal reset, this goes with this here. You got a 3.5 megacycle crystal in the back, and I'll show you that in just a second. But the back's open. We can plug in a crystal socket back there. It's got a crystal socket plug in a crystal. And this one, it did come with the 3.5. If you got that, you can plug that in. You can roll your dial down to 3.5, like from 80 meters, 3.5 megacycles, or megahertz in today's speak. But roll this down to there, and then take this, flip on your flip this on it, it turns on puts the crystal in circuit to give your little tone, and tune this until you get that tone zero beated right on the 3.5, and then this band is set, so it'll be accurate when you tune it, and then turn it back off. And the same thing, it'll work all the way down. The way the multiplier stage and everything's set up, it'll work all the way down. You get a 40 meters, put it on 7 megacycles, tune this till you hear it, turn it back off, then that band's set. And you got to kind of do it for every band. Let's see, and of course you got the function switch down here. You got off and standby. Put it in standby mode when you're transmitting. Then you flip it back up to AM or CW and single sideband. Which is nice about this one, it will receive single sideband. It's got a BFO. What's interesting about it is the HT40 that matched it, came out at the same time, was a CW and AM only transmitter. So you could listen to sideband, but you couldn't talk back to them if that's all you had set up. And of course you got your phone jack here. And then your band selector, which goes just 80 through 6. Of course, back then you didn't have the work bands, 17 meters, 30 meters, and 12 meters, and all that. Let's tell you about the calibration knob. You flip it to calibration and adjust your cal reset. And then, of course, your RF gain. That's just on your front end. Everybody's probably familiar with an RF gain control. How much, if you got an overloaded signal, you can back off on the RF gain so it's not overloading. And then you got your automatic noise limiter. This you don't hardly see a whole lot. You see on some radios, but this was back in the day. Everything was put out a lot of all electric motors, and cars had electronic had the points and condenser ignition. So if somebody was out mowing the yard, you hear da 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 da. And if your husband or your brother or whoever's in the bathroom shaving, with electric razor, with the old style round electric razor, you'd hear, and all that. So you flip that on, they get rid of most of that, but not need as much nowadays. And this is your big frequency oscillator here. And of course, down on the other here, we got your AF gain or audio gain or a volume control. And of course, that's your main tune in there. That pretty much gets that on the front. Like I said, the only downside of this is it didn't have general coverage. It didn't go down to AM broadcast band all the way up to 30 megacycles. Like a lot of them did, or maybe even to 54 megacycles. This one was just band specific. And you had a little bit better tuning range, say in 80 meters, because you got a half a megacycle here. You got 500 kilohertz to tune. But you get down to, say, 10 meters, you almost two megacycles there to tune. So tuning was a little more touchy down there. And you notice I'm not moving this a whole lot here. A lot of these at this age, they've got the dial cord in there, and it starts getting really fragile, and it can break. And I've got a manual on this, and it shows the restringing of the dial cord. But I still kind of like to, I see that it's still working a little bit, and I don't want to snap it or cause it to snap, because I'm going to re-string the dial cord in it. It's just like replacing capacitors and all that stuff in an old radio. When you got one like this, it's just a real good idea just to replace that dial cord, and there's several places you can get it still. Let's look at the back. Yeah, I can see. I was looking. Yeah, you can't really tell here. I might get some light on that. Zoom it in there. Yeah, you can see that. You look back in here above the tube there. You see that fuzzy looking thing on the string? Let me get a right there. I can see from here that's the string is starting to come loose, the outer cover. It's kind of like it's got a string with the cloth coating over it. The cloth coating's come loose. So that's the reason I want to be careful with that. At least this has got a transformer here. You know, it's not like an All-American 5 or anything. It does have a transformer. And then here's that crystal socket I was talking about, and it did actually come with the 3.5 megahertz, 3500 kilohertz crystal. So that's nice for that. The music box, Oak Ridge, Tennessee. It's interesting to see the different things on these stories on them. Here'd be your audio, I think. That's not a choke. No, that's over here. This would be your audio output transformer. And then down here is where your speaker hooks up. This here is the meter on the front. If you got a proper signal generator, you can calibrate that, or if it seems to be it's just pegging out too easy on a weak signal or something like that, and it ain't right, you can respect it and kind of adjust it to where you think it should be, or you can of course calibrate it a little bit better if you have proper equipment. And you can see the tubes in there and all that. Here's your antenna connection here. The SO239 back then. Antenna and ground. And this here, the screws are missing out of it. But this, you got to be careful with this, because this is going to have high voltage here and there, and especially on the HT40 transmitter. This here is what you'd interface with the HT40 transmitter so that you could transmit and stuff. And a lot of times, this one I've not looked at to see. Some of them you could actually, without having to put that switch in standby mode on the front, when you transmit, it will, drop this out. Put it in standby. But you still, which is fine for me, like if you're doing AM or sideband, of course, HT40. Like I said, I don't do the sideband, but if you key the mic, start talking. If you do a lot of CW, it's just closing, which is kind of, it gives you a break-in, CW break-in, but you hear a relay clicking all the time. When I did, I always just flipped the, thing to standby. Like I said, it wasn't this particular one, but I had another one I just flipped to standby, and I would run my CW, and then I would flip it back, I'd turn it back to the other guy, and I'd reach over and flip it back to receive. And like I said, here's your speakers. So there's the rundown on it. Let's see, it's missing a couple screws here, but all you got to do is take out these 4 screws, which 2's missing. We'll get these screws out here, and we will have a look inside of it. I'll show you this too. This appears to be the original cord here. It looks period. But I'm guessing at some point it got damaged or something. I don't know. And somebody has. Look at that. They've just. Looks like they've just twisted the wires together and just wrapped some tape around it and left it. If you're going to do the black tape thing, there's definitely better ways of doing it than that. But they've added some kind of a. Then it's even a polarized plug. Here they've added to it, which just didn't come with the polarized plug. But anyway, let's get the screws out of it and have a look on the inside here at this thing. Yeah, I had when I first started off, I had a guy, first he loaned me the HT40 transmitter, and then later he said I could just keep it. And for the receiver at first, this was back in the early 90s, I had a one of those little Ramsey kits, if you're familiar with that. They had a direct conversion 80-meter receiver. Little things like $30 or something. Even had I guess you can say the VFO was a potentiometer, and that was kind of hard to line up. But I would put the transmitter, flip it on, and tune the receiver to and find the make sure it was right on 3710. That's how I'd make sure it was on there. And sometimes I'd barely have to, and it was just 1 to 1. It wasn't so when I'd turn that thing, you'd barely touch that, and you could go off several kilohertz. And so you had to really be careful with it. Well, not maybe several kilohertz, but several hertz, several hundred hertz anyway. So barely just bump and touch that, and where you just kind of touch that potentiometer. It was pretty interesting. But anyway, let's get this out of here. And yeah, you can see that case how, at least on the inside here, let's see if I can get to where I want it. It's got the tube complement, and that sticker's still in there, but it looks, well, I mean, you can see, adhesive stuff here. I don't know if that's somebody added that later to make it stay better, or if that's just factory, or they, rolled in a little adhesive and stuck the paper to it. I don't know. But anyway, let's get this out of here and off to the side here. And we'll have a look at the top side here. So you can see all the cobwebs and all that. And some of it came with it, and some of it's added since then. But you can see the main tuning. There's not a whole lot to it there. On your main tuning. I'll move it around a little bit, but you can see that. Let me put the light there and zoom in here a little bit, but you can see, and I move that. I mean, there ain't much capacitor there. And then this is your trim up capacitor here. And this here is paralleled with this, and that's your calibration when you got this turned on here. It's got the these little dial outs with the shield. There's one on each side. But that's all there is to it. I mean, it is pretty basic for even then. And let's see here. Now, I've not had this apart before, so we're gonna figure all this out here. I think I'll just leave it like this, and I'll just move the camera around as we need to. Well, we definitely see these capacitors here is going to have to go. These Bumblebee style capacitors. There's 1, 2, 3. Is that it? Yeah, that's all I see right offhand. Those will have to go. All these disc capacitors should be fine. All the resistors appear to be Allen Bradley style, so they're probably fine, but I'll run through and check them. That's nice about that. Oh, wait a minute. I see another Bumblebee here. That's 4. But anyway, these electrolytics will all have to go here. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. And then, let's see. Down here, there's a couple more in the power supply section. These two will definitely have to go. Here, definitely check this resistor right here. It might be some of that wax stuff I got on there, and they put it on some of this stuff. Thought maybe that got overheated, but we'll check that. I may replace this. I may replace this phone jack, even though I don't use headphones myself right now a whole lot, but it'll be there in case you need it. I'll clean it good, but it's so rusty on the front and stuff. I don't know. I may change that, or I may leave that. I've got some of those. This has got a built-in switch. You can see. So anyway, it looks pretty good. I mean, you know, it's definitely factory job. I don't see where anybody's been into it before. You know, you can usually tell the difference in the solder blobs change, or it's an actual solder blob, or somebody fat fingered it and didn't half know what they was doing. Of course, now I don't know if somebody's been here and messed with any of these. I'll have to see these coils. I'll have to check that out and go through alignment. And now these diodes here, these are them older diodes. They're probably fine, but I'll replace those with, like, you know, my favorite 1N4007 or something, or 4005, whatever. But I'll just go ahead and replace those just in case it don't hurt while I'm in here. I can definitely see, though, this may not be the period cord. It really looks like it, but that is definitely not factory there. Let's see if I can get this where you can see that. Look at this mess. You can see where the wire, they twisted it around, you know, they've stripped the end of the braided wire, and they've twisted it up and wrapped it right here. See that? And just kind of stuck some solder in there and did the same thing here, and it's kind of all fuzzy and looking weird. And that's there. Now they got the strain relief actually clamped back down right. So somebody's replaced this line cord. Now, like I said, I've never had this turned on, so I hope that they didn't. Nothing looks bad, but of course, hope they didn't. One of these capacitors hadn't shorted, and somebody keeps trying to change line cords to fix it. You know, these things didn't come with fuses back then, so let's hope the transformer's okay. But the nice thing is, well, no, it's just doubled. Oh, yeah, it's doubled. You can get into the IF transformers on top and bottom, I was going to say, but I'll look more in the manual. It's probably got a slug on the bottom and a slug on the top when you adjust these two IF transformers here. So yeah, the way I get this radio up and down like this, it's hard to get the camera right where I want it, but you can see, maybe you can see that there's a slug there and then a slug down here. It's probably got to go just this, flip it, and just the other side back and forth. There's probably 4 slugs in these 2 cans here. And of course, you've seen it before, but I'm talking about these. Some of these 2 cans right here. So anyway, so there's all that in a nutshell. So I get these all these capacitors changed out, the dial cord changed out. What this is and why this is here, I don't know. This piece of rope, nothing's loose. It's not really tight, unless it was tied to hold. No, they wouldn't need that. It's soldered pretty tight, pretty stiff wire. Not sure what's going on with that, but either take it out or leave it or whatever, but probably take it out. Place all these capacitors, diodes, get that line cord, or that, yeah, definitely work on this line cord. Get that dial cord changed out, that's what I meant, and the diodes down here, and see what I'm going to do about the phone jack, phono plug for the earphones, and definitely clean it up in here. You can see, maybe you can't see, we got some green corrosion right here on this spring on the calibration reset. So clean all this up, of course. See if I can make it look a little prettier for next time you see it. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it helps somebody out if they got one of these they want to restore, or want to restore one, or whatever. So anyway, I'll come back in another video and I'll have it all restored, and we'll go through looking at it and seeing what I did and seeing where you can tune in any signals and all that. Until the next time, this is Michael, KE4EST 73.